Alright, welcome to the Introduction to Algebra video, okay? So basically this video, as it states, is the Introduction to Algebra. So my very next video is going to be the very first video of algebra. So everything before this video is basically just trying to get you up to par, so when we jump into algebra, you're going to know the basics, okay? Okay, so this video might be a little bit longer than the other ones just because there's a lot to cover. So you guys know me, let's just jump right into it, okay? So there's just a few things you got to put in your notes before we start, and I just wanted to get it, done at the beginning of the video, so it's in your notes, you're done with it, okay? The first thing is what's called a variable, okay? The formal definition for that is a letter or symbol that is used to represent a quantity that either changes or whose value is unknown, okay? So I know that just probably sounds like a bunch of gibberish, right? It's okay. In simple terms, well, for a second, let's go to variable expressions and I'll go back to variable. A variable expression, basically it does not have an equal sign, okay? So here, 4x plus 1. Since it's just 4x plus 1, that's a variable expression. Why is it called a variable expression? Because this letter x here, that is your variable. That is your letter or symbol that is used to represent a quantity. So basically, x is thrown in there, but we don't quite know what x is. X could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100. It could be -5, -10. We don't know what x is, so we just call it x, okay? And a variable, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it x, z, a, b, c, d. You can call it whatever you want, okay? So variable expression, here's a few examples. 4x plus 1, y squared plus 2y minus 10, z plus 1 divided by z minus 3. Now there's tons of variable expressions. We can make an entire list. Don't get too caught up over this. These are just the technicalities. But just kind of understand what they are. And here they are. So let's just jump right into some problems. And hopefully some of this stuff will make some sense. All right. So the very first problem is, it says, the sum of a number and 6, okay? So basically what we have to do for this is it's giving us a sentence, and we have to basically take this sentence and write a variable expression, okay? So a few things here. Sum. When you hear sum, that means adding, okay? So put this stuff in your notes. Sum means adding. Difference means subtraction, okay? Product means multiplication. And quotient means division, okay? Those are the key words here. So it says the sum of a number and 6. Now, this right here, a number, what is that? What do you think that's going to be? Well, that's going to be our variable. That's going to be our x, okay? So the sum of x and 6. So you just write that, x plus 6. And that is your variable expression. Sum is addition, a number is our x, and 6 is just 6, okay? So let's try another one. Got a couple more of these guys for you. All right. So we have 8 less than a number, okay? So these ones always throw students off, okay? So we have to really kind of pick out what this is trying to say. It's saying we have 8 less than a number, okay? And what students like to do is they like to say, okay, 8 minus x. But I have to stop you right there. That is not correct, because this would be the difference of 8 and x. But this is saying 8 less than x. So the correct way to write that is x minus 8, okay? Because we have 8 less than this number. So for instance, if x here is 10, we're going to have 8 less than that, which is 2. So, and the way to get that is 10 minus 8, okay? So whenever you see something like this, 8 less than a number, it's going to be a number minus whatever that number is, in this case 8. All right, one more of these guys. A lot of writing. The product of 4 and 2 different numbers. All right, so now, do you remember what product means? Product is one of our key words here. Product means multiplication, okay? So, it's basically going to be the multiplication of 4, but now here we have and 2 different numbers, okay? So 2 different numbers, we don't know what they are, we just know that they're numbers, but there's 2 different of them, okay? So again, product is multiplication, so we have 4 times, okay, this little dot means multiplication. Now 2 different numbers, all you're going to do is you're going to say you have x, that's one of the numbers, and then you have to have another one, which in this case we're going to call y. It can be anything really, 4ab, 4, you know, xz, it doesn't really matter, but generally we like to use x's and y's. But so this is the product, it's all multiplication, of 2 different numbers. The different numbers here is x and y, okay? And those are variable expressions. All right. On to the next part, which is evaluate. So the first problem here is 2x minus 4 for x equals 4, okay? All right, so check it out. Basically, and directions are evaluate. Okay, whenever you hear that word evaluate, 99% of the time, maybe even 100% of the time, you're just going to be plugging something in. Okay, so what that means is here they're giving you what x is in this case. So this is a variable expression, and they're saying x is 4. So what you're going to do, or at least how I teach my students, is you have 2. Now where there's this x, you're just going to open up a blank parentheses here, just a blank spot, minus 4, okay? So wherever there's your variable, just open up a spot there, and whatever your x is here, x is 4, you're just going to plug there. Boom. Okay? So you're just taking this 4 and you're plugging it into x, okay? So if you haven't watched the order of operations video and you don't really understand how order of operations are, it's okay. Just pause this video and go watch the order of operations video and then come back, okay? But in this case, 2 times 4 is 8 minus 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. Okay? So 2x minus 4 and x equals 4. You basically just simplify it down to where you get a single number. In this case, it's 4. Let's try another one. Okay. What do we got here? Okay. We have x squared minus 2x plus 1 for x equals 2. So same thing. Where there's an x, just open up a parentheses, okay? So you're going to have parentheses squared minus 2 parentheses plus 1. So again, wherever there was an x, all I did was I wrote it verbatim. You know, I just rewrote it, but instead of putting an x, I opened up a parentheses there. So you're just going to take this guy here, and you're going to plug it in. So 2 goes here, and 2 goes here. And you know what? I am going to multicolor this bad boy. So we got 2 and 2. So those red 2's are what I'm plugging in, okay? So now, once it's plugged in, you just do your order of operations. 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 times 2 is a negative 4 plus 1. 4 minus 4 is 0. So it's 0 plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. And that's how you do it, okay? Let's try another one of these guys. Okay, so we have b squared minus 4ac. Now we have 1, 2, 3 variables in this guy, right? Okay, so we're going to say a equals 1, b equals negative 3, and c equals negative 2. So again, wherever there's a letter, you're just going to open up some parentheses. So you have parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses times parentheses. Now we're just going to fill in the blanks. Well, this first one is b. We know b is negative 3. So you just plop that guy on in there. And again, I guess I'll use some color coding. Negative 3. Now you're going to plug in your a, which is 1. And you're going to plug in your c to this guy, which is negative 2. Okay? Once that is done, you just simplify it, and you're done. Negative 3 squared is going to be a positive 9. Anything squared will always be positive, okay? Always. Whenever your exponent is an even number, 2, 4, 6, 8, no matter what's in there, it'll always be positive, okay? So we have negative, well, 4 times 1 is 4. We still have our negative 2 in here. So we have 9 minus, well, let me not jump ahead. Here we have negative 4 times a negative 2. Well, negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 plus 8 is going to be 17. Okay? And yeah, that's how you evaluate. So if you understand those problems, you can ultimately evaluate anything. Now you just plop your parentheses, plop those numbers in, and simplify it. All right. What is next? Now simplifying. Okay. There is a few other things that I do need to talk about. They're called the associative property. Associative property. And the distributive property. Okay? And at first it's going to look like a bunch of letters, but I'll explain it. It won't be too bad. So we have A times B times C is equal to A times B times C, okay? So make sure you put this in your notes, okay? This is all the associative property here, as well as this next property. So we have A plus B plus C equals A plus B plus C. Now the distributive property, so these are all, you know, for the associative property. Now the distributive property is A times B plus C is equal to AB plus AC, okay? Now you know me, I don't really like to throw too much, like, you do have to understand these, but I really don't want you to get boggled up on these formulas or these properties, really. You just have to really understand how they work in your problem and you'll be okay. Okay? But in short, you see you have parentheses here on AB and you have C outside. It's basically saying you just move the parentheses over, to surround with B and C, okay? So basically all it's saying is A times B times C is the same thing as A times B times C. When you're multiplying numbers, you can move them however you want. I mean, you could have 2 times 3 times 4, and you could change it to 4 times 3 times 2. It's going to be the same number. You can just move those guys around if it's multiplication, okay? Same thing for this. Saying A plus B in parentheses plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. Okay, you're just moving the parentheses from here, shifting them over. That's it. Now distributive property. Basically, what you do is if you have a number outside and you have some numbers in here, B plus C, you basically are just going to multiply the A to both of them. So you have A times B plus A times C. Okay? So just put those in your notes, and we're going to apply them in some problems right now, and if they don't make sense, they will. Okay? Alright. Well, like I said, let's just jump right on in. So we have 6 times 3x, and the directions are just simplify. Alright, simplify. So you should have this in your notes. You should have the associative property in your notes because we're going to use it right now. Okay? So basically, by the associative property, if you have 6 times 3x, we know that you can also do 6 times 3 with the x outside. Again, you're ultimately just moving the parentheses over. Okay? So the reason we do this is because we can now do 6 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. We have x. And I mean, that's it. It's simplified. Basically, what simplifying means is you just continue to, operate on the problem until you can't do anything else. Here we just have 18x, and you can't do anything with that. That being said, you stop. That's your answer. Okay? Let's try another one. Alright, so now we have 2x plus 6 plus 4 out here, okay? Again, by the associative property, if you have these guys in parentheses and they're all addition, plus, plus, you can just move the parentheses over, boom. So you're going to have 2x plus 6 plus 4, okay? I just shifted the parentheses over. And this is by the associative property, okay? So now you can just add those together. So you have 2x plus 6 plus 4 is 10. And don't want it to look like 2x is plus. So your answer is 2x plus 10. You must stop there. Because you can't add things that have x's and that are just numbers, okay? So you're done. Let's try another one of these guys. Alright, so now we have 1 plus 2x, okay? Now this is, we're going to use the distributive property here, okay? Get some awesome color coding. Boom, boom. Okay, so you're basically just going to take this 3 and you're going to multiply it to each of them. So 3 times 1 is 3, okay? 3 times a 2x, so I'll write that out, 3 times 2x, like that, okay? Again, so this is going to be by the associative property. So you have 3 plus, remember you just shift all the parentheses, so you have 3 times 2 times x. 3 plus 3 times 2 is 6. You just attach that x on the end there. So, using the associative property on this problem, you reduce it, you have 3 plus 6x, and you're done. And again, we like to put our answers in little nice boxes, okay? Alright. Okay, we actually have one more of these guys. Got to make sure it all makes sense. We have -2, and then in parentheses we have a plus 2b minus 3c. Okay, now this is also the distributive property because we have a number out here, you have all this stuff in parentheses. So we're going to distribute that -2 into the entire thing here, okay? So -2 times A is -2A. -2 times 2B, so we have -2 and then 2B. -2 times -3C, so we have -2 times -3c, okay? Now, each of these, we're going to apply the associative property. So remember, you just basically shift the parentheses, okay? So -2a is just -2a. So here we have -2 times 2b, okay? I just shifted the parentheses. Same thing here. -2 times -3, and we have our c in the back. Now you just multiply these numbers together, and you'll be done. So we have -2a, -2 times 2 is a -4. We got our b right here. Now -2 times a -3 is going to be a positive, because negative times negative is positive, a +6. And then we got our c right here. Now, we have a's, we have b's, and we have c's. You cannot add those together, so we're done. Okay? We are done with this problem. You put it in a box, and your teacher will be very happy. Okay? Alright, so that's enough simplifying. Alright, what do we got next? Alright. Okay, so now we're going to talk about terms and coefficients. Just one problem like this, okay? Because it's not too horrible. Alright. So we have this right here. -4x plus 2y plus xy minus 17. And basically just is how many terms and what are the coefficients. So I'm going to be lazy here. So we have terms and then coefficients. Okay? Okay, so terms. The terms are basically just going to be each of these. Okay? So, the terms, you know, if you want to write out all the terms here, the terms are just going to be -4x, 2y, xy, and -17. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 terms in total, okay? Now coefficients. I'm just going to put co there, okay? We're talking about coefficients. Well, the coefficient is always the thing in front of your variable, okay? It's just the number. So the coefficient of this term is just -4. The coefficient of this is just 2. The coefficient of this, now, there's always, if there's no number in front of your variable, there's always an invisible 1, okay? So the coefficient in that case is just 1, and then the coefficient for a number is just the number, okay? So that's just terms and coefficients. Another technicality that you do have to understand, okay? Alright, I know I went through that rather quickly, but hopefully it makes sense. So we're on to our last topic of this introduction to algebra. Combining like terms. Alright, combining like terms. Alright, so let's just jump right into an example. So we have 7x plus 3x, okay? So you see how this term only has an x, you know, it has a number and an x, and this term has a number and an x. That's what makes them like, Okay, they're like, this is like you have 7 oranges, X is representing the oranges, plus 3 more oranges. How many oranges do you have? Well, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay? You have 10x, 10 oranges, okay? And that is combining like terms, okay? So let's try a little bit of a trickier one. So this is going to combine a lot of the stuff we've learned. So we have 2 times 3x minus 4 minus 2x plus 9, okay? Well, this here we know is going to be the distributive property. So you distribute that 2 into each of those. So 2 times 3x, okay, 2 times 3 is 6, so we have 6x. In this case, 2 times a negative 4 is going to be a negative 8. We have minus 2x plus 9 here, okay? Now, you have to go in and say, what are like? So you basically find the things that look the same. You see how the 6x and the negative 2x both just have a number and an x, okay? Those are like, so those you can add together or subtract. And then you see how these here are just numbers, it's just a negative 8 and a 9. Those you can also combine. So let's start off with the x's here. So 6x minus 2x, or you have 6 oranges, you eat 2. How many do you have left? You have 4x. So you have 4x, and we have a check on that, We combine those. Now you're just left with negative 8 plus 9. So what's negative 8 plus 9? Well, that's just going to be a positive 1. So now you have 4x plus 1. Now there's no other like terms, so you can't combine anything, you can't proceed anymore. That being said, you just put that guy in a box and you're done, okay? Let's try one more. All right, you guys ready for this one? It's gonna be pretty tough. No, I think you guys got it. All right, so we're gonna have 2 times negative 4x plus 7y minus a 3x plus 9y. All right. So again, this is going to be the distributive property, but it's going to be the distributive property twice, because you've got to distribute this 2 to each of those. But now this negative here, you also have to distribute, because there's a negative here, but it's not just a negative. You can't just have a random negative there. It's really negative 1, okay? Remember, there's always an invisible 1 there. Can't really see what I drew, but it's negative 1, and you're going to have to distribute that through, okay? So let's start with this. 2 times negative 4x is going to be negative 8x, because 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. 2 times 7 is 14. So you have 14y. Okay, so this one's done. Now you got to distribute this. Negative 1 times the 3 is going to be negative 3x. Carry the x with it. Negative 1 times the positive 9 is going to be a negative 9. You carry that y with it. So you just distributed all of that, okay? So now again, you go in and you say, what are my like terms? Well, this negative 8x and this negative 3x are like terms, okay, because they both have an x on it, just an x. And then the guys with just the y attached to it are like terms, because it's just a number and a y, a number and a y. So they're like terms. So we just start combining these guys. Negative 8x minus 3x is going to be what? Negative 11x. Those guys are done, so I just put a little check mark. Now we just got to do these guys. 14y minus 9y is going to be what? It's going to be a positive 5y. y. Okay? With that being said, you can't add x's and y's, so you're done. Okay? And that, my friends, was your introduction to algebra. So prepare for the next video, because the next video we're diving right into to Algebra 1.